This is Maison in the Man-Eating Apartment. This is Asura's Verdict, and this is Marchen by a very popular author and artist. I have enjoyed some of these works, and what they have in common is that they are rather disturbing and they are rather dark. Maison. Out of the 3 stories here, this is the one I'm most excited for. Every time a chapter releases, I am sat and indulging within it. Mostly because it's a big old mystery. It's creepy and eerie and has a bunch of odd and fluctuating components narratively that feel uncomfortable to read. Every chapter you're uncovering a secret and something new, but something gross. And the more you figure out, the more confused you become. I enjoy those elements of storytelling quite a lot, mostly because I think it takes a lot of genius to make them work seamlessly. You can't just throw a bunch of stuff together, you have to figure it out, you have to plan it all ahead, you have to make sure all of these different elements weave nicely back into each other. If they don't, they just create a big knot and get all tangled. If the title doesn't give it away, let me paint a better picture. Maison in the Man-Eating Apartment is about a large tower or apartment that sits at the edge of the world and within its final second before destruction, before humanity is erased from existence. This last second is a loop of sorts, and this tower operates within it. So the tower is self-sufficient. It builds and deconstructs and reconstructs and has the last pocket of humanity reserved within it. The tower somehow gives birth to our main character, Maison, and she is the next landlord for this apartment, and her job as the main character is to make sure that this tower is functioning, that it's operating successfully. Mind you, she's very young, so she has a long way to go, and she has a committee above her to help her make decisions in both good and bad ways. Maison is inquisitive though. She's adventurous. She doesn't really like being told what to do. While she is a good landlord and does want to help this tower operate successfully, she also wants to figure out the unknown. And the more she adventures and the more she explores, the more things that she figures out. Stuff that is hidden away from the public eye. Life within this tower is relatively gross. It's rough. A lot of things have been replaced or reutilized to work efficiently elsewhere. Food and water, for example, is recycled within the tower. Same with waste and recycling being big components. Maison finds some very odd things about the tower. Creatures, beings, hidden flaws, hidden mechanics and mechanisms that are not a part of the main infrastructure. Almost like their own separate dimension, if you will. These creatures recycle humans, treat them like waste, but have a oddly ethereal charm to them, almost omniscient. Other massive, horrifying humanoid creatures recycle the waste for the tower, but you don't know where they come from or why they're here. There's these hidden flaws that no one can have access to that are hidden behind invisible barriers. The story isn't inherently futuristic, but more perhaps post-apocalyptic, stuck in a tower. I'm always very excited for when a chapter drops for this story. It has a tune to it, a feeling, a vibe that isn't really associated with anything else currently. And that might be just because I'm not reading a lot of mystery-driven stories, but there's an eeriness to this, an unknown, a quality to it that feels so nice to sink your teeth into, you know? Like you just want to binge read it, you just want to continue it, because the more you do, the more you're going to find out, the more you're going to make things click, the more unique components start to come out to play. What other things or creatures or ideas are going to be revealed later on? How is Maison as the landlord and a young girl going to operate this? How's she going to navigate the circumstances of the disappearance of her best friend? I also really love the visuals for it. I wish I could show how kind of grungy and filthy it all is. It really builds a nice atmosphere and aesthetic to it. I wish the best for this story. I'm excited for it, and I hope it continues to thrive within its own unique lane. Serial killer. Asura's Verdict is a funny one because for me it originally started off as just that edgy, goofy, revenge type story. Very dramatic and over the top and edgy. And currently it's still doing those things, but it almost does it really, really well. And that oddly enough surprises me. I'm not really one for super grotesque stories with no context or meaning or purpose behind them. They serve their own utilage. People enjoy them for whatever reasons, and that's perfectly fine. They're just not really up my alley. I thought Asura's Verdict was originally going to be that, and instead it's kind of mellowed out into something oddly more sinister. It still has that edgy nature to it, but it's playing more so into its horror elements, its sinister aesthetic, and it makes for a really creepy experience. So the story rotates around a boy who is obnoxiously a good deed doer. He is a upstanding citizen. He's doing his best. He's trying to live a very honorable life, and clearly he's had it rough. He gets bullied a lot for it too. But he comes across a key, and this key's purpose is to stop evildoers. How, you might ask? Well, you insert the key into, let's say, a bully's forehead, twist it, and then it will open up a door to hell, and a creature will come out and drag that person in. So already, contrast, insane. A boy that just wants to do good deeds and to root out corruption and evil within the world, and a key that is the most horrifying access to hell you could imagine. Where the story starts to get edgy is that you need components that, work with the key. Surely you could get rid of bullies and criminals, right? But you need to elevate it further and further to make it entertaining. So you start getting into the realm of bullies, but they're just gross human beings in every single department that you could imagine. I just shouldn't have to list off how gross that can actually be. And that's not like a super unrealistic thing. There's a wide range of different type of bullies, sure. But now we're getting into the territory of like family stuff, and it becomes a pretty difficult pill to swallow because it's very authentic and real in a lot of ways. As much as it has an over-dramatic and very edgy tone to it, it's still real-world issues, and it can be a massive pill to swallow for some people. It's, I guess, comes with its own trigger warning, seeing different types of family abuse, very detailed in a lot of ways. Mind you, this boy is never really a part of any of these things. He just comes across it, and he gives warnings and opportunities, and then he inserts himself in front of danger. So normally he gets punched out or hit or abused or whatever it may be, and as soon as that happens, he inserts the key and drags those evil people into hell. Where the fun part of it comes in is the boy is horrifying. He is scary. His depiction is top notch, and it's continuing to become more and more sinister. This was just an innocent boy that went through a lot of garbage in his life, trying to do good, that now has a key that can wipe people off the face of the earth. That changes people, and it's starting to change this kid. So he kind of pops up in the corner like a monster. While it is kind of novel and gimmicky, I am curious to see where this story goes. Akasaka. You may know this author, Kaguya-sama. I enjoyed that story. They also done Oshi no Ko. I don't really enjoy that one. And with how that ended, a lot of people are kind of on the fence with them. They released a new manga called Marchen, and it's done by 3 separate people. Someone that's doing the composition, Aoka Jira, and a group of people that are doing the artwork, Arji Chika. They might sound familiar. I believe they are the artistic group that do Record of Ragnarok. There's not a whole lot I can say about Marchen, so I guess take this as my first impressions of the story. It's a bit odd. I'm not really sure how I feel about it. I have kind of become relatively numb to how Akasaka writes the opening chapters. If you've read any of their work, Kaguya-sama, Oshi no Ko, or the handful of other shorter stories, they always have a very appetizing hook, usually in the realm of bait and switch. And a lot of their stories are dark and over the top, sometimes broaching into that edgy, grotesque category for no real reason. And Marchen is definitely no different. It is purely a fantasy story. It has that bait and switch opening, and it is gross. And I don't even mean gross in the idea of how it's visually depicted. It's horror at its core, which is fine. But then there's a couple of elements, a couple of chapters in, that just feel unnecessary. Almost just to try and qualify how far you can push a story into that edginess or into its useless kind of darkness that it tries to produce, to weaponize it as shock value. Marchen Crown is again a fantasy story. It's about Rapunzel, who is stuck within a tower. She can't leave it, she gets told not to leave it. The outside world is disgusting and horrible. But a boy comes barging in. Come outside, there's nothing wrong out here, you deserve freedom. She does go outside and the world is indeed a mess. It plays it off like nothing's wrong, of course, that's the hook, that's the appeal. But then you find that the boy lives in a town with horrified human creatures that have been turned into like cannibalistic plants. And he sees nothing wrong with that. He can't even tell that there's anything wrong with that. Royal army comes along, my savior, great people, yippee. No, they want to abuse Rapunzel, who is a young girl by the way. And the story is kind of doing its thing now. While it is early, truthfully, I don't really know what this story is meant to be. I don't understand the appeal for it as of yet. I'll give it more time, but it's not really sitting well with me. And maybe that's just because I don't have a taste for Akasaka's work. If any of these stories sound enjoyable, please do read them. If you have, I would love to hear your thoughts. My personal pick, go read Maison. Very interesting manga right there.